is that the preparation is so key, but you are not going to use 90% of what you study for. But what it does is that it makes sure that you have an anchor. So if you need to call upon it, you are so ready to call upon it.
Your thoughts on the Reggae Boyz, where are they now?
It's an exciting time for them, isn't it? There was some apprehension with how many new boys and new faces we're seeing. And I think sometimes we compare what happened in the 98 World Cup campaign to now.
Welcome, Sports Nation, to Sports DTM, the sports channel where we call sports down the middle. You can expect the latest in sports news, views, and reviews from our resident analysts. No sports topic is too controversial, and no team or player is above criticism. So just smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on our balanced offering of riveting sports content. And don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Welcome to Sports DTM.
Greetings, Sports DTM fans, and welcome to another episode of Sports Down the Middle. Today we have in our virtual Sports DTM studio, sports journalist Donald Oliver. Donald, welcome to the Sports DTM virtual studio. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, man?
I am great. It's nice to have you in our Sports DTM studio.
Good to
How
be
has
here.
it been?
You mean so far?
Yes.
Today? It's good. Can't complain. It's been a good day so far.
Yeah, I know you've been in radio, TV, all over the place in media. Tell us which team you support. For that, maybe football, cricket, volleyball, netball, jacks, domino.
Manchester United, West Indies cricket, Sunshine Girls. I don't know who play jacks. Yeah, one of the good teams, I suppose.
Manchester United. I'll leave that alone, but tell us a little about yourself, growing up, how you got involved in sports and journalism.
Wow. It's an interesting story because it's not a conventional story. I'd left Arden for about a year. During that year, I was really trying to work out what exactly my future was going to be like. During that time, I was doing cricket commentary for my church. There was a church cricket competition that was going on, and I was a scorer at my church. But you know, sometimes when the match was a little bit boring, I used to provide some commentary on it. Realized that I actually couldn't do both at the same time. So I had to give up one. During that year, I actually decided to do commentary on the final that we were in. And I recorded that final on cassette, it was at the time. And I sent it in to Simon Kraskel, who would have listened to it. And he gave me an internship that summer where I was doing some reports in one of their Saturday showcase shows on RJR at the time. I did my internship there, and apparently I was successful because I was hired at the age of 17 in September of that year. So it's an interesting story as to how I got started because it wasn't the traditional way at all.
Which church was it? And under normal circumstances, I would hear I was playing cricket, but you were the one talking.
Yes.
So you're born to talk.
I tell you what. I really do love the game of cricket. But the call and talk, nobody agreed with me at all. I mean, it damaged my hands. I got so many cuts. But I think I was a relatively good catcher, especially in the slips and in the gully. Probably wasn't the best batsman or bowler. And I think you need to have at least 2 out of 3 in order to be successful in cricket. So what can I say? It was fate because I grew up listening to a lot of commentators back then. And I figured that, you know what, I think I could do what they did. And I was in love with how they described the game. I was in love with how they could paint a picture. And you're right, it is unusual for someone to be fascinated with that aspect, but growing up, that's exactly what grabbed me. And you know, it fascinated me so much that at times I missed classes, especially agriculture classes, while going to Ardennes, because you know, who needs to do agriculture classes, right? And you know, I would go off and you know listen on the radio what was happening with West Indies cricket or in the football match at the time, and I was just really enamored by the entire process of calling the games, and yeah, I was drawn to it from day one.
I suppose the voice of Bobby Frey and Rex Ferreira. Those are the
Yeah,
two
I mean,
popular,
Simon Kraskel, I mentioned him before as the one who hired me at RGR, but he would have been a, you know, he would have been a demigod as far as I was concerned in how he called the game. Of course, there was Lance Whitaker, there was Ed Barnes at the time as well. Those, in my opinion, were absolute icons when I was growing up.
Yes.
If you're in the 30s, you'd know the theme, international theme that played on Radio 2. And then Ed Barnes would come in, welcome to the National Stadium for the Reggae Boys in action. And he had just an awesome voice. And then if it's not him, it's Simon Kraskel, who would describe to a T what was happening there and would place you inside the stadium. And then, of course, on the cricketing side, you're talking about Tony Costa, you're talking about Simon himself, you're talking about Fazir Mohammed, you're talking about Andrew Mason, and of course, Bobby Frey. All those were just larger than life people who I just looked up to, and they were just absolutely brilliant in what they did.
And we grew up in the era where we were listening to cricket on radio, Donald. So,
yes, and even if it was on TV, we'll listen to the commentary on radio. I mean, that's how it was done.
But talk to us about the experience of being hired by RGR at age 17. What was that like for you?
Surreal. So surreal. RGR is basically it's such an institution, right? Of course, there was a time that's the only place that I knew. And for me to go there at that time and for that to have been my institution, so to speak, in learning the craft, in working with people behind the scenes like Courtney Sargent and Gary Samuels and the late great Tino Geddes, to be among them in particular was just, I don't know, I had to pinch myself every day to see if I really was there, because you're talking about icons here. You're talking about people who gave everything to what they did and to make RGR the institution that it still is, because it was built on those shoulders and, of course, people before them. Having heard of Don Toppin outside and the likes of Francois Saint-Just and all the big names that you can think of, Alan Magnus, and of course, Doreen Samuels Binger, may her soul rest in peace. For me to be hearing about them and then to be working alongside them, it's something.
Never Willoughby.
Oh my goodness, Neville Willoughby, of course. I mean, to have lunch with him on a daily basis, to have conversations, and you know, for us to be on a level where we could, you know, basically tell each other any and everything about what we thought of the world and our surroundings. It's just something. Yes,
Henry
Stennett wasn't. I came probably a little bit after him. But I would have met him on a couple of occasions. But yeah, those are some legends in radio, and I found that I was very fortunate to be among them and to learn from them.
So and it was evident that you didn't go just for the food and the gathering, but you got a youth award from the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Youth Award in 2009 for your work in journalism. So it was more than just the food.
I would have been. It would have been more than the food. I would have left RG at the time, though. I would have been at CVM then when I won the award. And the thing about these journalism awards is that you have to literally represent yourself and offer yourself your name and say, you know, I think I deserve this award. And to be fair, I wasn't a fan of doing that, to offer my name and say, you know what, I can be Prime Minister Youth Awardee. But I decided to do that. Someone asked somebody to nominate me, and in the end, I would have received the commendation. But yeah, I mean, to be honored for your work, obviously encourages you along the way. And again, it's just a situation where I was just grateful for people to appreciate the work that I did during those years.
So, Donald, you are the co-founder and producer of the sports program called GPS.
Football GPS.
How did that come about? Yes, how did that come about?
Wayne Walker came to me with the idea of Football GPS, and I thought it was a fascinating idea where we would just speak about football. And when he came to me, he told me about his thoughts, and then, you know, I was the one who wrote the treatment and really fine-tuned it to a T. It took some time to get off the ground, but in the end, we managed to put it on air. And I mean, it was such a big deal for me to be a part of that, because I mean, a lot of persons would see me as a presenter and hear my voice, but I love producing. I love producing content that people enjoy, and Football GPS would have been one of the programs that I really enjoyed producing. Wayne was really good to work with. I tried my best not to script it, because he knew exactly what he was saying. He knew exactly what he was doing. We entertained the callers to come in with various opinions. We had several hard-hitting interviews as well to do on the program. But yeah, again, it's a baby that I'm really proud of. You know, it's moved on from strength to strength. You know, of course, it's out of our hands as creators, but I mean, I still look at it and smile and, you know, critique and you know, wonder what else could have been done with a particular topic, or who could have been a guest at this point in time. But hey, it's not for me to judge at the moment. I am confident in ideas that I do have, so if I have to give up an idea, I just move on. But I'll always be proud of starting Football GPS with Wayne.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
you prefer to be on the ground or behind the scene?
It depends on what I'm doing in front of the camera. I obviously, commentary is my first love. I really love doing that. I would prefer doing commentary and not necessarily being in front of the camera. But I really do love producing. I love doing features. I love telling stories. In fact, I try to tell the stories when I'm actually doing football, and that helps with painting a particular picture for the audience, to know the background of a player who has scored a goal, to speak about the history of a school winning the Manning Cup for the first time in over 3 decades, stuff like that. Those are the stories that I like to tell in live commentary. So, I mean, it's pretty close, but commentary will always be my first love, because there's so much more that it can do with live commentary, because you never know what's going to be playing out in front of you. That's the thing. So I really appreciate that.
Okay, so walk us in a day and life of Donald Oliver.
It depends on the day, but it can be ridiculously boring. I suppose a good day, if I'm supposed to be talking about if I have a football match, usually I try to get to the venue around 2 hours before the football match. But before that gets underway, I usually spend at least 24 hours trying to get to know the teams and get the latest news. I call the coaches, much to the annoyance of my producers, because I'm doubling their work as well, or repeating their work, because the producers would call the coaches and get the information. And then I, as a commentator, would not rely on my producer, and I'd call the coaches to get the information for myself. So I tried to get the starting lineup probably the day before, what they think could be the possible starting lineup. I try to get the statistics from the day before as well. I make the notes. I try and get the statistics in past seasons to see if there is any story that I can tell. Obviously, I try to get to know the teams a little bit better, what they've done in the season, what they've done on the day. I try to identify if anybody's celebrating a birthday on the day. So if somebody scores a goal and I'm celebrating a birthday, I know what to say. So all that prep work happens from about between 48 to 24 hours before the game. And then
how important is that preparation?
Oh, critical. The thing about it is that, and I've always told individuals who I try to mentor, is that the preparation is so key, but you are not going to use 90% of what you study for. But what it does is that it makes sure that you have an anchor. So if you need to call upon it, you are so ready to call upon it. But a lot of the time, the notes that I've written for a particular match, they are left unsaid. And probably phrases that I'd want to say, it doesn't come about and it moves on to the next match. And sometimes you never get to use it for a season. But you feel so good knowing that you're able to actually, be so prepared. So if anything happens, you have something to fall back on and say, oh, well, I did study this, so I can use it in this particular scenario to paint a picture or whatever. But yeah, it is critical. And I would encourage anybody to don't consider it to be a waste of time, because it isn't. The fact that you're able to do that research helps you in the short term, possibly, but definitely in the long term.
At Sportsmax, what's the working environment like? Is it fun working?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's different because obviously at TVJ and at CVM, you would have been preparing for a sportscast, so to speak. At CVM, I had, funny enough, TVJ, of course, I mentioned, or the RGR group, because I started off in radio, and then, of course, the forces joined. I would have started off just trying to learn the trade. I figured that the RGR group got the best of me in the last 2 years, which is unfortunate because that took 4 years to grow up. And who knows, maybe in the future I can utilize more years with them. But I really grew up at CVM. I received a lot of license. I often tell people that I gained a voice when I was at CVM television. People were able to hear my stories and say, okay, that is Donald's style. I didn't quite get that as much at Television Jamaica, but I got it at CVM, which is why I was more confident to send in my work for prizes or whatever. But at Sportsmax, different animal. We do live content. We do live productions, whether it be track and field, whether it be schoolboy football, whether it be Premier League. And I love live content. I love live sports. And because I do commentary, it's what I was born to do, really. So the environment is of a different level. I believe that they have raised the level of production in Jamaica, in the Caribbean on a whole. I think when we do productions, you can see the difference in what we do compared to what others try to do. And I'm proud to be working there. The hope is that continues. The hope is that we continue. Well, I'm going to use Chris Gale's line here, from strength to strength, and that's all I can hope for. But yeah, I work with ambitious people. I think I work with some of the brightest minds in terms of creators. I think I work with some of the best commentators. Lance Whitaker is there with me now. George Davis is there. Ricardo Chambers, one of the best track and field commentators in the world, in my opinion, is there working with me. And we're also co-producers on a number of content, including the World Cup the last time around. And we're working together for the Olympics this time around. So again, it's just a privilege. And I find myself saying that a lot, that I think that I'm in a privileged position to be working with these people, to be sharing ideas. And, again, of course, you'd want the salary to be better. Who doesn't want a salary to be better? But dream job in just working with them.
Sportsmax is sponsoring the local football. Are you looking forward to the return of that?
Yeah, I am. I hope the players are looking forward to it because to be fair, I'm not looking forward to watching unfit players crawling on the turf trying to score a goal. I know that it has been difficult for them in terms of preparation. I know that there's been a lot of uncertainty, especially the last several months, but I hope that they are as close to sharp as possible because at the end of the day, it's still a product. It's still a product that we're trying to export. It's still a product that we want international viewership for. And it augurs well for the players as well that they bring their A game to it. I'm trying not to have the standards so high because, again, they're coming out of a difficult period. We may not see the best of them, and I'm looking at them as fans as well, because who doesn't want to see good football? So I'm looking at it from that point of view and hope that they're up to the task. But sure, yeah, can't wait for a ball to be kicked.
Okay, Donald, who would you say is your role model?
Oh, geez. Oh my goodness. I think I would have to choose. I'd have to choose different people based on the attributes that they carry. And if I'm talking about sports, I'm talking about Simon Kraskel, who was my first role model. The way he was able to be creative, second to none. The way how he described an arena. I remember he was doing a test cricket commentary, and he was the one that was setting up the opening over and the first ball to be bowled. And he went around the stadium, starting from the Air Jamaica stand, I think was what it was called, and he went around to where the mound is, and he described exactly what's going around there, and he ended up at the George Headley stand, and he came around to the Kingston Cricket Club stand and back across to the Air Jamaica stand, and he described it to a T, from the colors to the sounds to everything that you can think of. And I felt that I was there, and I'm like, I wish I could do that. That's what I was thinking at the time, that I wish I was able to do exactly what he did, and do it so well. A creative genius, a commentary genius in my book. Lance Whitaker is someone who puts his head down, and then when the moment arrives, he grasps it. I appreciate seeing how he works. George Davis and Wayne Walker. Oh my goodness. They're similar in terms of working with them. They are students of sports, and I think I appreciate the fact more than ever, the fact that they're able to tackle any subject. I can leave them alone and they can talk for about an hour on any particular sporting topic. And as a producer, that can be a dream, especially if you're filling for time. And I wish I had their memory. I wish I had their thirst in terms of explaining and being articulate in what they say about any sporting achievement or anything that happens in sports. So yeah, there are snippets from individuals who I see every day that I'd want to just, take just a piece from each and say, I wish I could do this. I wish I could improve on this, stuff like that.
Your thoughts on the Reggae Boyz, where are they now?
It's an exciting time for them, isn't it? There was some apprehension with how many new boys and new faces we're seeing. And I think sometimes we compare what happened in the 98 World Cup campaign to now, where we say, well, we've done it in the past. Well, no, not really. We had a core of local players that we worked with back in the 98 campaign. And it was just a handful of players that came from overseas to be a part of that squad. And then, of course, the first 11. It's a little different now. And I think we have to be careful, not necessarily for now, because, in Jamaica, of course, we haven't played football for about a year. So it's difficult to say that you're going to be calling up local players who haven't been playing a lot and who aren't fit for the most part. And also you have to be careful that a number of players who we're calling now overseas-based players, actually were born and bred in Jamaica and who are
Gotcha.
applying their trade in the United States and in England. So we have to keep that in mind and stop treat them as if, okay, they were born in England or they were born in the UK or they were born in Germany or they were born in the United States. No, that's not the case. Having said that as well, I think as a group, we need to accept the fact that Whitmore Theodore Whitmore, the head coach, has this responsibility to choose the best possible 11. And we have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he will. A plethora of talent to choose from. It's a most difficult job. I think he now has the most difficult job of any coach or technical director that we've ever had, because he has so many riches now to work with, and failure would feel like a massive one. I mean, I can't see us not going to the World Cup, which means that it's down to Theodore Whitmore and the players to a T to get it right. So the campaign, I believe, is a strong one. I think we should make it to the World Cup. I think it would be a massive disappointment if we don't make it to Qatar. But you know, Whitmore is already under pressure. I mean, I think he knows it. I don't think there's not one position. Probably he's still experimenting with the holding midfield position, which probably is the only iffy position. We see that he tried Damian Lowe in that position just the other day. And as far as I'm concerned, he looked okay in that position. But as far as in every other position is concerned, we have a couple players at least for each position. So again, it's down to him and the players to work really hard. A litmus test is coming up in terms of the Gold Cup, and then of course the big test in the World Cup qualifiers. And I'm looking forward to it.
I was just about to ask you, what's your prediction for the Gold Cup? You think we can win it?
Going to be very difficult to win it, because as I said before, the Gold Cup is legit the litmus test. So many new players to choose from. It's going to be very difficult for us to try and repeat what we did in previous Gold Cups. If we make it to a final, I think we'd have done well. If we win it, excellent, which would be a major indication that we are going to make it to the World Cup. But I think the highest that I can expect from the Reggae Boyz is to reach the final. If they win it, it's a brilliant achievement.
Who are you looking forward to playing in the black, green, and gold the most?
Recently, it has to be Tony, but he hasn't gotten his full papers yet. I'm looking forward to seeing an Ivan Tony in the squad. Yep, I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Ivan Tony?
Yeah, is there an echo in here? Yes, Ivan Tony.
No, we have to make this clear now. We that's why I really asked twice now, because if you watch our video, we're having a lot of debate about this one. So we really want to ask this one clear.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to him the most, and that's recently, right? I'm looking forward to him, but if he decides to do Jamaica, yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, because I'm not sure. Well, I haven't seen Shamar Nicholson in a while, because I think that I think he can be anything. I genuinely believe that Shamar Nicholson can be anything. But as far as a poacher is concerned, I'm not sure if we have that in spades. We have very good wingers, we have very good forwards, but I'm not sure how many very good strikers we have access to. And I like the poacher that I see in Tony. But yeah, your views may differ. I'm not sure who exactly you're looking forward to seeing the most, but if he dons the black, green, and gold, I think that's something additional that we can look forward to in terms of our arsenal.
What do you prefer, radio or TV?
Oh dear. So I've recently started to record podcasts, and in editing those podcasts, I have reignited my love for radio. Like, radio is special. Radio has been so underutilized in Jamaica. And sometimes I feel like the person who uses radio the best is Ron Muschette. With how he plays around with, you know, the effects and the music, and you know, just him being an animated individual. Ron Muschette, dear Jesus. But It's close. Because I'll always remember doing radio commentary and having to describe everything. When you're doing TV commentary, you have to be on the P's and Q's because people are watching it and they will know if you're talking rubbish. And of course, there are different styles in terms of the two types of commentary that one does for TV and for radio. But that is a difficult question. I love me some radio, but I appreciate television so much.
All right, Donald. So what is the highlight of your career so far?
Wow. I can vaguely remember doing West Indies commentary. The only time I was able to do that when West Indies, I believe, played away to Pakistan. I think it was the time when Lara hit 30 runs in an over. Was it of Danish Canary? I can't remember. I remember actually calling that over for Hits 92 in the Caribbean when I was doing commentary with Simon Kraskel. Unbelievable. Again, couldn't believe that I was in that position to call the game, much less the over, which was historic. Darn shame that I can't remember who it was. Being honored, winning the Prime Minister Youth Awards, being the Sports Journalist of the Year, getting to call special moments in schoolboy football in particular, having seen history with Kingston College, winning the Manning Cup for the first time in over 3 decades. Listen, there are so many highlights and so many moments that I genuinely appreciate that it will be difficult to just name one. And I know that I'm forgetting lots more that would have helped to project my name, so to speak. But yeah, there have been some really good highlights that I can remember off the top of my head right now. Yeah.
What was the hardest part of your journey so far, and how did you manage to overcome it?
Yeah, so this is getting personal now. The hardest part of my journey would have been what happened at RGR. I was taken off air. I was taken off air because I was told that I wasn't fit to be on air. And I found it very difficult to handle at the time because when we were doing sessions and classes with mentors and the likes of Faye Ellington, I was top of the class. I was top of those sessions. And it was clear in the eyes of many that I deserved airtime, more airtime. But, you know, I always say that nothing happens before its time, and I consider myself to be long-suffering and patient. And I had to use everything that I had within me to move past those moments. You know what's funny though, is that just a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine who worked with at RJ at the time sent me a clip. It was a clip of me doing a sports report. Brother, that was awful. I mean, when I look at what I'm doing now, and when I listen back to that kid who probably just turned 20, and I heard what my critics were hearing at the time, and I just had to, and this is a couple of weeks ago, you know, I came to the realization that, you know what, I probably deserve to be off here. And I think that's the beauty of growth, when you're able to go through your storm and at the end of it saying that there is a better purpose here that you just have to embrace. There's a calling that is obviously higher than you expected. And all you have to do is just improve. That's it. Be patient doesn't mean that you're just twiddling your thumbs in the hope that something happens. Being patient also means that you improve your craft and you are patient until your time comes again to shine. And that's what I am able to embrace even now, because I'm far from where I want to be, very far from where I want to be. I want to commentate at a World Cup final. I want all the world to hear me call a football game. I want to do cricket tours. And yeah, the 20-year-old guy or the 19-year-old guy who sounded nasal and thought he was a rising star at the time, he wanted similar dreams. But the thing about then and now is that I'm able to see the improvement. I'm able to see the growth. And although people are excited by just a couple of calls that I've done, in my mind, I'm like, nah, I'm nowhere yet. I'm just scratching the surface, and there's so much left for me to do. So I embrace the struggles of the past, knowing that that propelled me to be a better individual, even though I didn't want to hear it at the time, but it has. And I thank God every day for that improvement, and I'm looking forward to perfecting my craft as well. So yeah.
And that's an awesome story, Donald.
Very,
but what
very.
advice would you give to any young person who wants to get into sports journalism?
First of all, I need to tell you that, and I think some of you are able to grasp that it's probably the easiest thing that you can ever do. But here's why I say it's easy. Because everything is in your court. The ball is in your court to do even the simple things like learn how to speak, like making sure that your English is on point, making sure that you're able to articulate, making sure that there's honesty in what you say and how you do things. Because the thing about being a presenter is that your audience will also look for that honesty, and that's how you know whether you're doing a good job or not. The audience can tell you whether you're fake. The audience can tell you whether if you don't have a good heart or a good soul. Trust me, the audience knows.
And they will tell you.
And they will tell you. And it's not just about saying that you said an incorrect thing, or that your facts weren't straight in what you said. I think the audience, especially the Jamaican audience, appreciates those who are genuine. And that is why, and just to transition a little bit, Asafa obviously didn't win a lot of gold medals. But I think based on his persona, his personality, he would always be Jamaica's golden boy in terms of, well, of course, he was the first one out the blocks, and the way how he carried himself and stuff like that. He was the golden boy of track and field. And he'll always be favored. And I think that's the same for sports journalists in terms of you don't have to win everything all the time, but if you come across as real as possible, if you are able to articulate well, if you are able to be humble, if you're able to try and perfect your craft in terms of commentary and giving your opinion on something, if you're able to not be like a snake or, shift your opinion slyly and trying to beat around the bush and all that jazz, your audience will appreciate you. But most of all, they will respect you. Even if they don't agree with you and how you describe something, because they know that you're coming from a place of trust. They know that you have built your credibility on the words that you say and how you act. And they will just say, you know what, fine, we can agree to disagree. But you're still the best. You're still the best, That happens all the time with my fellow co-workers in how they carry themselves and how they are commended every day. Even if people disagree with them, there's still that level of respect. So my encouragement to those up and coming journalists, make sure that you try and improve your art of communication. Make sure that you're genuine, and also do your research. As I said before, 90% of the time you probably won't be able to speak or write about what you've actually researched, but it provides such a solid foundation for moments that you probably not even thinking of will come.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So, what new content can the Jamaican public look out for, and what next?
I am actually trying to expand, not just doing sports anymore. As I said before, indicated before, that I intend to put out a podcast soon. It's a podcast called Generation Z Stories with Donald Oliver, or Generation Z if you prefer. And the thing about it is that we interview celebrities all the time, which is fine. But I think there are stories to be told by individuals who really don't know, or who don't have the platform, to really speak about their struggles, to speak about their improvements, to speak about their dreams. And that's what I'm trying to provide with this platform, with this podcast that I'm going to be launching in a few weeks. I've done a couple of them, and I mean, it's been inspirational what I've heard so far, and I can't wait for the general public to listen to their stories. That's on a personal note. So as I was saying, that I'm looking forward to what the future holds. The immediate future is, of course, Premier League and, of course, schoolboy football. But as I said, I've bigger dreams than that as well. But that's years down the line, and I just have to be patient just to see what happens next.
Awesome. Where can the people find you?
I'm on Instagram. The Donald Oliver. Goodness me, on Instagram. On Twitter, my name, Donald Oliver, as well. On Facebook, you can just type in Donald Oliver, and you'll be able to find me. I'm all over the place, so be sure to follow and hit me up in the messages.
Anybody you want to big up?
Big up my family. Listen, it's again, I'm in a position where I'm in a privileged position in terms of my co-workers and what I get to do, and I just want to thank those who have paved the way, who have lit the path, because goodness, it wasn't easy. I've been able to learn from so many people, been able to perfect my craft in just seeing what they do, observing them, and adapt. They know themselves. I mentioned a few of them before, and I'd like to thank them from the bottom of my heart, because what you did, even though for the most part it wasn't deliberate, the very fact that I was able to get that opportunity to be around you was telling, and will always be the foundation where I'll grow, and I'll never get tired of growing. I'll never be bored of this job and telling stories. So yeah, to all those people, thank you.
So there you have it, sports DTM fans. A quick chat with sports journalist Donald Oliver. So we would love to hear from you. What's your thoughts on this interview? By leaving those comments in the comment section below. And always remember to like, to share, and to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, why you wait for? Just click the button and welcome to the Sports DTM family. Donald, thank you very much. Passing through the Sports DTM.
Thank you, sir.
Fans, be blessed.